India is on a pathway to combat climate change and is playing a pivotal role in limiting the rise in global temperature. The renewable energy generation capacity is expected to grow exponentially in the country. During COP26, Government of India set an ambitious target to combat climate change. India will take its non-fossil energy capacity to 500 gigawatts by 2030. The nation will meet 50% of its energy requirements from renewable energy by 2030. India will reduce the total projected carbon emissions by 1 billion tons from now till 2030. By 2030, the country will reduce the carbon intensity of its economy by more than 45%, and by the year 2070, India will achieve the target of net zero. This is the world's largest expansion plan into the renewable energy sector, and India is the only country in the group of G20 countries, which is moving fast towards achieving its climate goals. The government is committed to increase the use of clean energy sources, and is already undertaking various large-scale sustainable power projects, and promoting green energy heavily. The success of this energy transition is greatly dependent on its proper execution on ground, through skilled workforce. The Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, as part of the Skill India mission, set up Skill Council for Green Jobs, for the purpose of developing Indian workforce competencies and skills, in the domain of renewable energy, environmental issues, and sustainable development. The Skill Council is working in the domain of capacity building for green businesses, and cutting-edge climate-friendly technologies through skilling, and entrepreneurship development. The mission of the Council is to capture the skilling needs for both service users, manufacturers, and service providers within the sector, and implement a roadmap for a nationwide, industry-led collaborative skills and entrepreneur development initiatives that will enable meet India's potential for green businesses. The activities of the Skill Council are broadly categorized in following heads: occupational mapping, skill gap analysis, develop NSQC-approved qualifications based on industry requirement, affiliate suitable training partners and accredit assessment agencies, training of trainers and training of assessors, training and certification of candidates in various domain subsectors, create centers of excellence, improve industry linkages in all the subsectors, provide consultancy and organize short-term training programs. The Council is now systematically moving towards market mode training through its training partners, entrepreneurship program across various sectors, and engaging with industry for 6, 9, and 12 months apprenticeship. The Council is securing a number of CSR projects from industry, like REC, iRadar, HCL Foundation, SBI, and more. Today, Green Jobs SSC is NCBET recognized awarding body for green business and environment sector. Over the journey of less than 7 years, after undertaking 9 skill gap studies, SCGJ has developed 44 qualification, along with training material, and assessment criteria. The Council has certified 4,000 trainers, 760 assessors, trained and certified 5 lakh plus candidates. Building a strong workforce, SCGJ is proud to have facilitated over 80,000 plus green jobs pan-India. The organization has grown exponentially for skilling in green energy sector, and has built a growing network of more than 450 training centers, 25 affiliated assessment agencies, over 500 industry partners, and 9 centers of excellence. During pandemic, SCGJ launched an e-learning management system to facilitate online skill activities in the area of renewable energy and waste management by aggregating all the training partners on a single digital platform and then making learning activities accessible to candidates pan-India. SCGJ has also launched Rozgar Portal, a technologically advanced solution which automates the entire talent acquisition process for employers, provides job opportunities to skilled workforce, and help SCGJ make necessary interventions in skill development activities to meet industry needs.
And the gold medal goes to Aswaka Narayana Sanagavarapu, India.
SCGJ is the first and the only sector skill council to bag India's first gold medal at World Skills Kazan, Russia 2019 in water technology skill. Now with a mission to get gold at upcoming World Skills competition, SCGJ has strengthened its preparation and has launched a unique technology-driven training initiative with the cohort of international experts. Contributing globally, SCGJ conducted online solar energy training program for 1,000+ candidates from 72 member countries of International Solar Alliance. This training program was conducted in English, French, and Spanish language. Considering the national priority on solar energy, and India's ambitious renewable energy target of 450 gigawatts by 2030, SCGJ has trained and certified 1 lakh trainees under the renewable energy domain. Today, Skill Council for Green Jobs is the capacity building and skill development partner under the World Bank Grid Connected Rooftop Solar PV Technical Assistance Program. To strengthen its quality of training, SCGJ has joined hands with GIZ, UNDP, and FCDO to provide international level training to its trainers and master trainers. Contributing to other sector skill councils, the Greening National Occupational Standards developed by SCGJ is being adopted by all SSC for the qualification packs development. Aligned with Clean India vision of Mahatma Gandhi, SCGJ under the aegis of Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, and NSKFDC, has conducted 247 workshops pan-India, on prevention of hazardous cleaning of sewers and septic tanks. This is one of the successful workshops, helping in prevention of manual scavenging activities pan-India. With a focus on Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, SCGJ has implemented trainings for over 4 lakh Safai Karamcharis and waste pickers. SCGJ has also identified future areas of skilling and job opportunities. SCGJ will be undertaking 10 skill gap studies and developing a total of 100 NSQC approved qualifications by the year 2030. As per the new National Education Policy, the Council is aligning its qualifications for the adoption by schools, universities, and engineering colleges. SCGJ will implement BWOP program in renewable energy, waste management, and sustainable development in 75 universities. The Skill Council will develop 750 credible training centers and 50 credible assessment agency in the domain of renewable energy, waste management, green buildings, and green transportation sectors. By year 2030, SCGJ will have its activities in all the states and will have 20 centers of excellences. The Council will encourage and take up professional development activity on a regular basis. SCGJ proposes to take its certified trainers number to 7,500 and assessors to 1,200 by year 2030. The Council proposes to certify 10 lakh candidates in short-term trainings by 2030. The Council also proposes to upskill and reskill 20 lakh candidates through virtual, blended mode, and market mode trainings across all sector by the year 2030. Aligned with the government goal to transform India into an energy-independent nation by 2047, SCGJ has developed its Vision 2047, stating, "Every job role to contribute in the green energy transition. Green energy to be part of every household and industry. All traditional job roles to be comprehensively attributed with green skills. Unlimited job opportunities and need of upskilling based on new technological advances. 3 to 3.5 crore additional jobs to be created across green sector by 2047. Over 1 crore skill trainings and jobs to be facilitated in India." Today, Skill Council for Green Jobs continues to propel green growth in green energy sector pan-India.
Good morning, sir. We will start in 1 minute.
Yes. Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Very good morning.
Good morning.
A very good morning to all. I am Dr. Praveen Saxena, CEO, Skill Council for Green Jobs. On behalf of Skill Council for Green Jobs, I welcome all of you to this another edition of our webinar series, which is covering a wide range of topics relating to sustainable development and clean energy transition. My heartiest welcome to Mr. Samir Gupta, Chairman, Skill Council for Green Jobs, and the eminent speakers and panelists of today's panel discussion. Thank you very much for sparing your treasured time, please. We are happy that we are meeting when COP27 is being held. As reported, COP27 builds on the outcome of COP26 to deliver action on an array of issues critical for tackling climate emergencies. Faced with the growing energy crisis, recorded greenhouse gas concentrations, and increase in extreme weather events, COP27 is seeking renewed solidarity between countries to deliver on landmark Paris Agreement for the people and the planet. Every government, every business, every investor, every institution must set up with concrete climate action for net zero, said UN Secretary General. I'm sure today's discussions will take this suggestion into consideration and dwell on actions. India is celebrating 75 years of its independence as Azadi ke Amrit Mahotsav. Marking this event, Honorable Prime Minister on 15th August 2021 announced National Hydrogen Mission and called for making India a global hub for green hydrogen production and export during next 25 years. The Council for Green Jobs has organized a series of webinars celebrating Azadi ke Amrit Mahotsav. In this series, Skill Council has invited eminent and learned speakers covering various aspects of sustainable development, renewable energy, clean energy transitions. The series was launched on 24th September last year by Honorable Chairman of SCGJ. I am happy to inform all of you that 50 webinars have been organized as part of this series. The webinars were live streamed and may be seen on SCGJ dedicated. I once again welcome all of you today to celebrate the web series and the 50 webinars held by making this panel discussion as most interactive and enriching it with the new ideas. At this point, I would like to invite Mr. Samir Gupta, CMD Jakson Group and Chairman SCGJ, to open the discussion with his remarks. I would like to inform that today's panel has been identified by Mr. Gupta himself by his personal interventions to make it widespread and cover all important aspects of green hydrogen. The panel discussion would be moderated by Dr. Jayakrishnan, Bosch Global Software Technology. He's coming from there. Over to Mr. Samir Gupta for his opening remarks.
Thank you, Dr. Saxena, and of course, good morning, everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you for this very important webinar on the rise of green hydrogen economy. Absolutely honored to do the opening. I think green hydrogen has come a long way from just being a buzzword globally. As you would notice, as you would be reading day in, day out, almost all energy companies across the world are aspiring to make investments in green hydrogen. There was a recent MOU which was signed between Tata Steel and American car maker Ford for supplying green steel at Netherlands plant, which is a testimony to the fact that green hydrogen economy is opening up. I think the goal is very, very clear, which is to provide secure energy, affordable energy, and clean energy to all. All of us, again, we have witnessed record temperatures, more heat waves, increased extreme weather events such as floods, cyclones, droughts, drying up of rivers, and forest fires all over the world. Global warming is a concern which needs to be addressed on war footing basis. I'm sure that we will all agree that global warming does not differentiate between developed or developing countries. All these events related to temperature, soaring temperature, have been seen both in developed world as well as developing world. In 2015, only 25% of the countries had decarbonized horizon. Today, it is 90% plus, and this is indeed a major shift. Green hydrogen economy will have a significant play in achieving our net zero targets. While carbon neutrality agenda continues to be a priority for leaders across the world, there are challenges. Dr. Saxena spoke about what has been discussed in COP27 Egypt event recently. In the same COP27 meet in Egypt, there have been frank discussions about companies being dishonest about their climate action. On one hand, there are promises being made to slash emissions, and on the other hand, companies and nations are finding loopholes to invest in production of oil, coal, and gas. I would say that amid this turbulence on path of net zero, leaders will have to be much more nimbler to balance resilience with an energy secure future. There is fortunately alignment again of the all global leaders, be it organizations or be it prime ministers or presidents of the world. There is alignment on four thoughts, which is good news to my mind. One is there got to be focus on sustainable manufacturing. Second is making stride to recycle materials. Third is focus on renewables and invest in new sources of sustainable fuels like green hydrogen. Task of achieving carbon neutrality is neither simple nor easy. While there is alignment on these four thoughts all across the world, there are four universal problems which we need to address. Those are the hurdles we all are facing, I'm sure. One is deploying capital at a scale. This green hydrogen dream needs huge investment. Second is scaling up supply chain infrastructure. There has been disruption of supply chain globally over the last 3 years, which we have all witnessed. And unless and until there is a robust supply chain infrastructure available, there are going to be again challenges in implementing this green economy thoughts. Third is managing economic dislocations, and fourth is labor and talent shortages. These four are the impediments to faster execution of implementation of this green hydrogen. I think the Russian invasion of Ukraine and the resulting energy crisis in Europe are reminders that disruption in energy markets can create havoc in global economy. Irrespective of the hurdles, today's reality is that sustainability, economic competitiveness, affordability, and national security dovetail as never before. These four things again are the highest priority of every nation. The path of net zero will not be a straight line. There is consensus that diversifying the energy supply with renewables, green hydrogen, and green power promotes energy security and economic competitiveness. I believe that India is in a unique position, and it appears that we will leapfrog. We can expect massive expansion of green hydrogen and green ammonia production in our country. India is committed to curb its dependence on energy imports, and there is need to wean the economy away from fossil fuels. By 2030, India is targeting to produce approximately 1 million tons of green hydrogen per annum, which is expected to increase to 25 million tons per annum by 2047. Green hydrogen is expected to play a major role in decarbonizing heavy industries, including oil refineries, steel mills, and fertilizer plants. With the adoption of green hydrogen and green ammonia over long term, India aims to be a net exporter of energy, which currently we are a net importer of energy, and which is a huge drain on our GDP. And I think with the kind of water availability and the sunshine and even wind what this country has, we are blessed to have these resources. We can be a net exporter of energy. But at the same time, this brings huge responsibility on government, on industry, and the businesses. I think from industry standpoint, risk appetite needs to be elevated and new ideas need to be supported. It is not the time to ask, has it been done before? It is time to commit, experiment, and be innovative. Many companies in India have made significant commitments for making investments in green hydrogen and green ammonia in next few years. I'm very happy to share that even at Jakson, we have committed an investment of 22,400 crores for producing green hydrogen and green ammonia. We have made this announcement recently and have signed a MOU with Government of Rajasthan. This investment would be in 3 phases, and we will have a total capacity of 250,000 tons per annum. And this facility, this investment should create a job of approximately 32,000 numbers. With this, I will sum up, and all that I would like to say as a summing up statement is, with the forecasted demand of green hydrogen, we will certainly have many more plants and investments coming up in this country. There is undoubtedly huge potential in this sector. Today, as you can see, we have highly experienced panelists for this important session. I keenly look forward to hear to their views on green hydrogen economy in India. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Indeed, your summing statement has been the statement which you have been always telling us also, that this is the time of innovation. We need not to think whether this was done in past, but yes, innovation is something which is required. Keeping this in view, in fact, today's moderator is an R&D expert in hydrogen. As I mentioned, today's panel discussion will be moderated by Dr. Jayakrishnan from Bosch Global Software Technologies. Dr. Krishna has been a deep innovator in R&D in hydrogen and its applications. Prior to joining Bosch, he was working as a project scientist in IIT Delhi and has handled several research projects for over 8 years. His research topics include development of low-emission vehicles for transportation with focus on application of hydrogen and biofuels. He was an integral part of a team which developed hydrogen internal combustion engines based on 3-wheelers and multi-cylinder minibuses. His novel work on the application of hydrogen-based selection NOx reduction method for exhaust after treatment of high power density hydrogen internal combustion engine was appreciated widely, globally. Now, may I request Dr. Jayakrishnan to introduce the topic and take the discussion forward. Dr. Jayakrishnan, please.
Thank you, Dr. Saxena. Also, I would like to thank the whole team of Skill Council for Green Job for this opportunity and the forum for discussing this fast evolving and developing topic with such eminent panelists. And congratulations on completing 50 diverse topics that has been discussed over the past 1 year. Now, the topic of discussion, as elegantly put forward by our chief guest, is basically the rise of hydrogen economy. So, as you're aware, Government of India is taking many bold initiatives towards combating climate change as well as towards ensuring energy security of the nation. So, as we've seen in the initial slides, there was mention of COP26, where our honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi had made a commitment from India in reducing the emissions and shifting to green energy, which is called the Panchamrita. So basically, there were 5 points or commitments which were put forward by our Prime Minister. So one of them, basically, there will be a reduction in the emission intensity by 45% compared to the 2005 level by 2030. There will be a establishing 500 gigawatts of non-fossil fuel based energy by 2030. Similarly, of the total energy requirement of the country, 50% will be produced from renewable energy, and there will be a reduction of 1 billion tons of carbon emissions by 2030. And the most important, there is a target to achieve a net zero carbon emission nation by 2070. So, looking at this commitment, we can see these are very bold commitments, and we intend to honor this. Now, coming to the current status, as you know, right now in India, there is a overall renewable energy installation capacity is close to 163 gigawatt. Most of this renewable energy constitute from solar and wind, And going forward, the 500 gigawatt energy which is committed, it is clear that solar is going to play a major role. Of this 500 gigawatt, 300 gigawatt is expected to come from the solar route. And to reach this 500 gigawatts capacity by 2030, we need to grow at a very fast pace. So basically, this means adding nearly 40 to 45 gigawatts of annual capacity addition in green energy, which is quite challenging. Now, going forward, so basically, I would like to discuss basically what is a hydrogen economy. So basically, hydrogen economy is an economy where hydrogen energy substantially contribute to the nation's energy and service requirement. In the previous slide, as you can see, we talked about renewable energy, but hydrogen was not specifically mentioned. That is because hydrogen is not an energy source, but an energy carrier. So hydrogen, even though available abundantly, it is not freely available. Hence, it needs to be extracted with some input energy. So electrolysis is one of the major production methods that has been widely recognized for producing green hydrogen, where the energy for the electrolyzer process comes from the green sources, maybe solar, wind, etc. So now it is expected that by 2030, India would be requiring a green hydrogen capacity of 5 million tons. So this would mean that there would be roughly 30 to 50 gigawatts of electrolyzer capacity needed to achieve this sum of hydrogen production. And currently in India, as rightly pointed out early, there are a lot of investment declaration happening, and there are already international as well as Indian energy sector. They are already committing so many projects, and we have an electrolyzer capacity addition which could be as high as 8 gigawatt per year by 2025, and this should take India to meet the hydrogen demand. There are multiple challenges which are associated with hydrogen, be it production, storage, transportation, but with the kind of commitment that is given by government and the industry, things look quite possible. Going to the next slide. So this slide basically represents different aspects of hydrogen. So as I explained earlier, hydrogen is not available freely. It needs to be produced from a source. So if it is an electrolysis source, there are other methods by which hydrogen can be produced. So in an electrolysis source, we have the energy that is supplied basically from a renewable source, and hydrogen is generated by splitting the water. So this hydrogen further can be stored either in a compressed gaseous form or a liquefied form, or it can be converted to other forms such as synthetic fuels or ammonia. The advantage with these last two conversion is that they ensure that the energy density for storage and transportation is improved. So this greatly helps the transportation of the hydrogen, which is available in different forms. So all this hydrogen which is produced in different form need to be transported to the end user. So there are different means which we can see. The transportation path is shown here, and it is finally used at the end customer. So the end usage of hydrogen, it can be industry. So right now, industries such as steel, chemical, refinery, they are already using hydrogen, and shifting to green hydrogen would be the first low-hanging fruits, which will be generating the initial hydrogen, hopefully the initial green hydrogen requirement. Also in transport sector, this hydrogen can be used in fuel cell and in IC engines, also in gas turbines for different applications, be it the automotive, road, ship. All the applications are possible with hydrogen. Similarly, in heating, power generation, also hydrogen is going to play an important role. Next slide. So these are some of the recent development around the hydrogen. There has been globally, like our chief guest said, all the key energy players are come up and proposed and pushing for hydrogen, green hydrogen globally. In India also, we have energy giants like ONG, NHPC, Jakson Group, Reliance. All of them has come up with commitments and MOU for different aspects of hydrogen, be it hydrogen, green hydrogen production, or other applications. Similarly, here you can see the commitment by Jakson Group for setting up the green hydrogen plant. And we have electrolyzer companies like Ohmium from US, ASME, who are committed to setting up electrolyzer capacity in India. Next slide. So this basically shows how important hydrogen is, and in the last couple of years, how much enthusiasm and is put into green hydrogen. Now, without taking more time, let me introduce the August panel who's here to talk on this topic. First of all, I would like to introduce Mr. Bikesh Ogra. He is the CEO and Managing Director of Jakson Group. He has over 26 years of experience, and under his leadership, previously Sterling and Wilson was able to expand from India to over 26 nations in a span of 6 years. He has been awarded various awards, and he has been awarded the Green Entrepreneur of the Year by the Entrepreneur India in 2018, Solar Entrepreneur of the Year by Middle East Solar Association UAE in 2017. A warm welcome to you, Mr. Bikesh Ogra. Our next panelist is Mr. Sunil Jain. He is the operating partner of Essar Capitals. So he has over 4 decades of experience across different industries, including automotive, energy, manufacturing, clean technology, etc. So he was the former CEO and ED of Hero Future Energies, which is one of the largest renewable energy companies. And he has played a very instrumental role in establishing Green Infra Limited in the and making it achieve a prominent position in industry among the renewable IPPs in India. A warm welcome to you, Mr. Sunil Jain. Next panelist is Dr. Anand Shivapuji. He is from IISc Bangalore. He is a senior research scientist here with over 17 years of experience. He has handled various research projects under different government agencies. He has also taken multiple consultancy projects with industry giants like Tata Motors, Cummins, AVL Gas, etc. A warm welcome to you, Mr. Anand, Dr. Anand.
Thank you so much, Mr.
Yeah. So the next panelist is Mr. Santosh Gurunath. He is the co-founder of Umagine Energy. He has over 10 years of experience, and he has been associated with the oil and gas and Shell. Also, he has been associated with the management consultancies like McKinsey, BCG. He is passionate about low energy, and he is working in different aspects of hydrogen energy, be it strategy, policy, technology, R&D. A warm welcome to you, Mr. Gurunath. The next panelist is Mr. Anurag Jain. He is the director of Uneecops Solar. So at Uneecops, he is overseeing the organization-wide innovation and driving the strategic planning and growth initiatives. He is often recognized for fostering transformation in his business and bringing something new and better to the society. So he's focused on improvement of importance of new and innovative business that could make this world carbon free. Welcome, Mr. Anurag Jain.
Yeah, thank you, Jain.
Okay. Now let's make most of this opportunity, and let's hear from our great panelists on what would be here. So first, let me come to you, Mr. Bikesh Ogra. So you are the CEO of Jakson Group, Green Energy arm, Jakson Energy Private Limited, and like we have seen, there is a huge investment that has been committed from your side. So what are the potential you see in hydrogen, not only in green hydrogen production, but other aspects like manufacturing of electrolyzer, fuel cell, etc. Can you please share your views?
Yeah, thanks, and good morning to everyone, fellow panelists. Thanks for having me here.
I think, as you rightly mentioned, yes, there has been a recent announcement that has happened for our investments on the green hydrogen and ammonia space in Rajasthan. I think before I come to that, I think it's important to give a macro view of how there is a massive shift which is underway in the global energy landscape, right? The ongoing energy transition is very unprecedented due to its scale and a profound impact on technology, economy, environment, and the geopolitical trends worldwide, right? So as we talk about green hydrogen, as Samir mentioned, as you also mentioned, you supplemented that, there is a huge thrust towards the green hydrogen economy, green hydrogen and its derivative, which is ammonia and other derivative, carriers. And when you talk about a global macro perspective, today we are at 87 million tons of annual demand of green hydrogen and 180 or 190 million tons of demand for ammonia. When you translate it to the outlook that is being spoken about, anywhere between 1 million, as Samir spoke, to 5 million, 7.5 million tons is the outlook for India in the next, by 2030. And when you translate it into the kind of investments that entails, anywhere between 15 to 20 billion dollars, is the kind of investment that it entails in terms of the production, costs that would be required. And when you look at the energy security perspective arising out of it, in terms of producing hydrogen through electrolysis internally and ammonia also internally, it would mean a potential saving of anywhere between $500 to $1 trillion over the next 25 to 30 years in terms of the energy saving and the forex savings. So if you consider the electrolyzers alone for this kind of a capacity within India, I think you will have approximately, maybe as you rightly also mentioned, 35 to 40 gigawatts of electrolyzer capacity that will come up, over the next 8 to 10 years in India. Now, on the fuel cells, given the fact that, there's a lot of thrust towards the mobility sector on the fuel cells, that will also contribute around 10 to 15% of the overall demand by 2030 coming in from within India. So at Jakson Green, when you talk about the kind of potential we see from this complete landscape is the fact that obviously we are getting into the production, of hydrogen and ammonia in phases, as we mentioned earlier, and as what the various reports mentioned. The fact is that we also, want to get into the manufacturing of electrolyzers and maybe contribute around 5 to 10% of the overall manufacturing capacity, in line with the vision of our Honorable Prime Minister and the Atmanirbhar Bharat, vision, that we would like to definitely be a part of that landscape. Now, besides of that, obviously, there would be a lot of employment opportunities that will get created. And we did mention the numbers that it would create over the period of next 7 to 8 years. The earnings on the exports, we are trying to do some portion of it as an export earnings for the country, which will help us reduce the energy bill for the country. So overall, I see potential in terms of when we made this announcement, there was a lot of deliberation that happened internally as to what all it can entail. One is for the group, the other one is for the country at large, in terms of manufacturing, in terms of production, in terms of foreign exchange earnings, in terms of employment space that it can generate. So all of this put together, we feel very, very proud and honored to be a part of this whole energy transition mission that the country and our Honorable Prime Minister vision is entailed towards. So that's where we stand on in terms of how we see the space panning out, Dr. Jain.
Thank you, Mr. Bikesh. Now moving on, Mr. Sunil Jain, I would like to come to you now. So you are operating partner with Essar Capital, the investment arm of Essar Global Fund Limited. And recently Essar, at the start of this year, has proposed setting up Waters Hydrogen, which will be setting up UK's largest hydrogen hub. So with respect to India, how do you see what are the plans for green hydrogen from Essar Group, and how do you see the current atmosphere for is it the right time to pick up, because globally there has been a lot of actions in this field. So how do you see India prepared to take on this challenge?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Skill Council, for bringing me as one of the panelists for this important session. Well, let me come up. Essar has already announced a blue hydrogen, or I would say energy transition hub in UK, where we are doing one of the largest blue hydrogen project. It's with 1 gigawatt of hydrogen capacity. It is not in UK and Europe, you don't define hydrogen with the capacity of the electrolyzer, but with the energy of the hydrogen. So 1 gigawatt of hydrogen, which will be produced, and there will be a carbon capture there. That becomes one of the biggest hubs, because we also have our own port, standalone terminals. We have our own refinery. And of course, the entire north side, northwest side area of UK, there is a pipeline where government has allowed that you can put in the extra hydrogen into the pipeline. So the entire infrastructure and the logistics makes a big sense for us. And of course, government has approved this project with a CFD mechanism, which is a subsidy which UK government will give on the differential of a price between the natural gas and the hydrogen. So that is part of the UK base. We are planning to set up a similar project of green hydrogen in India, in state of Gujarat. We have a port in Salaya, and near to the port, we'll set up a 1 gigawatt electrolyzer capacity, and of course, an extension with ammonia capacity for transportation to Europe, UK, or South Korea, Middle East, wherever you want. So that demand will be catered from there. So overall, what we are saying is that even for UK, we can shift from Indian port to UK port directly, as we control both the ports. So we have logistics under control. So these are actually, as of today, very large investment projects. A typical 1 gigawatt electrolyzer with a matching ammonia plant and with the matching demand for renewables could end up being anything between $3 to $4 billion. So the scale of those projects is that large. Having said that, if you actually see the global demand for ammonia, for hydrogen in any form, would be 150 million tons by 2030, and it is supposed to go 4 times by 2050. Now, if that is the scale of demand we are talking about, then I believe that green ammonia or blue hydrogen and green hydrogen have a huge future. Well, we all know the future always looks bright. It is the present which always looks bleak. And we all tend to bet on future, investing large capitals, announcing large projects. And some, of course, do not see the light of the day. So all the people who are attending this conference, I have one cautionary advice, that all the projects which have been announced, there would be many which have been announced, and if you add up the capacity, it would actually take care of the entire capacity, which is likely to be, the demand is there by 2035-40. If all this capacity was to come up, we'll be green hydrogen surplus or a green ammonia surplus, which practically will not happen. So it makes to sense that some of the projects may not become viable and may not see the light of the day. But let us look at India versus the rest of Europe, because India has announced a hydrogen policy which talks about an export-oriented policy. This is the first time that the country has announced a green attributable energy, which government is saying you please export. And if you actually see the policy, they say put it near the ports so that you are able to easily export. Hydrogen has a very typical problem, logistics. I think that is one area which everybody which is the white elephant in the room we have to tackle. We may announce large hydrogen projects in different locations, but it is not easy to transport hydrogen. Indian pipeline infrastructure is not capable of handling that hydrogen. So you need a new pipeline structure. Transportation, the Indian transportation network cannot handle hydrogen. So infrastructure logistics is going to play a key role as India moves forward. But while we are trying to move forward with just announcement of hydrogen policy, look at what our counterparts in Middle East, Europe, and US are doing. US has announced the Red Act of that Inflation Reduction Act. And mind you, the cost of green hydrogen is negative for an investor because he'll get $3 per kg. You are able to easily produce $3 per kg in India also. And at our interest cost, let me tell you this. So effectively in US, it is negative. Plus you have investment tax credits. Now, who would not want to invest there? So what is the biggest challenge for India is the entire capital, which should have been invested in India on this vertical, will move to US. That's a big opportunity there. Now come to Germany. Germany yesterday raised the hydrogen stake of announcement of investment of $900 billion subsidy to $4 billion. The announcement has come yesterday at the COP27. Now imagine that's the kind of subsidy and purchasing available for people setting up projects of green hydrogen, green ammonia, and supplying to Germany. One good thing about Germany is that they are allowing import also. Now let's come to Canada. Seeing US, seeing Europe, Canada yesterday announced 40% subsidy. So there is a race to the bottom, competition against countries to bring hydrogen investments into their this thing, giving subsidies. Now that is where I think so India is still lacking. And it could be a challenge if we do not act today. Government of India has done very well so far. They've been very positive on the policy front. So my suggestion is that we should announce the PLI scheme sooner than later to bring India back onto the map. If you actually see all the studies world over, nowhere India is being pitched as an exporter of ammonia or hydrogen today. So India needs to pull up their socks and make that pitch that yes, we are also there. And we have got a very important location because we have ample of renewable energy at the cheapest cost in the world. Now, we have to make good of that. We are not look at Middle East, which are small countries, size of not even a state, and look what they have started doing. So we have to leapfrog quickly and show to the world map that we are there and we are here to stay. I can take any questions. I'll probably stop here.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sunil Jain. So what you are essentially saying, do you see this in India also? We should be looking at blue hydrogen as the initial before the green hydrogen, as a transition path towards green hydrogen?
I won't say that because blue hydrogen requires carbon capture. India does not have too many sites to carbon capture. That is a bigger challenge. So India may have small blue hydrogen. I'm not denying that. We will have some blue hydrogen, but not large scale blue hydrogen. We don't have the carbon capture facilities available.
Okay. So basically more thrust on policy and investment friendly schemes are the need of.
We have to attract capital. And if the capital goes to the Europe and US, there is a limited capital at the end of the day.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Jain. Now let me come to you, Dr. Anand. So Dr. Anand, like Mr. Sunil Jain just mentioned, we are a country with huge potential of solar and renewable energy. And taking it forward, how do you see it? And hydrogen production from so electrolysis path is considered one of the most viable. So considering India, what are the other potential source which you reckon could play a role in meeting this demand?
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Jay, for that very pertinent question. And I would also like to say, Mr. Sunil really raised some very critical questions in this regard. Maybe some of the points that I will be presenting now could kind of give a semblance of answer to those things. In regard to the question that you have asked regarding what are the other sources of hydrogen, I'd like to put some things in perspective here, please. See, today, if you look at the climate change scenario, we are like in terms of the carbon dioxide that is present in the atmosphere, we are somewhere in the range of about 410, 420 parts per million of CO2. Okay. If you historically look at the carbon dioxide cycle, typically 300 ppm has been the threshold which can be taken as a comfort zone. So today we are somewhere about 120 ppm excess as compared to the historical comfort zone, and this transition from 300 and beyond has taken place somewhere in the 1960s to 1970s range. So if you also look at the global weather patterns, you can very clearly see that from 1970, 1980 onwards, the extent of extreme weather events have really been increasing from that point onwards. Okay, so what exactly I'm trying to say here is we are in excess of about 120 ppm of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and on an equivalent basis, that means about 1000 gigatons of carbon dioxide is present in atmosphere, which is in excess of our comfort zone. And this is something that we need to address. The 1000 gigatons of carbon dioxide that is in excess in the atmosphere is something that we need to really look at. Now, if you look at how the world is addressing this particular problem, the realistic scenario in which we are all trying to address it through the Conference of Parties mechanism, which we are already to the 27th edition, is that we have to try and slow down the carbon dioxide emission. I mean, this is something which is a very serious issue. We are already 1000 gigatons excess carbon dioxide, and we are still talking of slowing down the emission. This is the realistic scenario, whereas the best case scenario is we are looking at net zero emissions. That is, we are talking of not emitting any more carbon dioxide. I mean, this is something which actually bothers me and scares me, because when we should really be looking at reducing the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, we are still talking about slowing down the emission of carbon dioxide, or at the most making the carbon dioxide emission zero. Now, from this perspective, the very interesting scenario emerges as to what could be the possible routes for energy generation, or let us say hydrogen generation, which can actually address this carbon dioxide issue also. Now, if you look at hydrogen per se, as you rightly put it out during your presentation, it's an energy carrier and it is not an energy source in itself. And if we look at hydrogen as a source, it is present as an element or compound in water and in biomass. So these are the only two naturally occurring substances or compounds which have hydrogen as an embedded element in it. Of course, we will not be able to account for fossil fuels in this, because fossil fuels are again derived from long-term compression of biomass itself. So if we look at it in its true sense, water and biomass would be constituting as two compounds which contain hydrogen being present as an embedded element. And electrolysis is the route that is adopted for generating hydrogen from water. And the other route, which is definitely to a significant extent less talked about and which is seeing very limited light of the day, is the generation of hydrogen from biomass. So today we have a technology called as biomass gasification, wherein biomass, which is chemically C1 H1.4 O.7. So this is the chemical structure, typical chemical structure of biomass. On an equivalent basis, water would be H2O. So we have this compound which can be converted into synthetic gas and which can further be converted into green hydrogen in its true sense through swing adsorption separation routes. So basically, we have biomass as a very important route through which green hydrogen can be generated. And this biomass itself can come from different resources, like the simplest resource would be woody biomass, and a more prominently available resource would be agro-residue and municipal solid waste. So the way I see it, the other alternative to electrolysis would be biomass gasification route. And this is something which needs to be seriously looked at. And when it comes to the Indian scenario per se, India has somewhere about 750 million metric tons of annual biomass availability. This includes all the agro output and then forest recovery, so on and so forth. And apparently, as per government documents, close to 250 million metric tons per annum of biomass is available in excess. So this is something which is available in excess, and this does not include the municipal solid waste that is generated in huge quantities in our country. Now, our own estimates, okay, I'm glad to say that we have a technology of gasification through which hydrogen is generated, and it is at close to technology readiness level of 7 to 8. We have a plant which generates hydrogen at about 5 kilograms per hour in our lab. So that through this particular route and through the cost and generation economics, we say that close to about 25 million metric tons of green hydrogen can be very easily generated by the biomass that is available. So in that perspective, biomass would be the other route which can supplement whatever is being done on the electrolysis route. Over to you, please.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Anand. Interestingly, that you talk about not only slowing down, but removal of the current carbon. So there is a Bloomberg report where this carbon cloud spotting has been documented recently. So I believe using of this biomass could further ensure that such emissions are also reduced. Okay. Now, next, shall I, Mr. Santosh Gurunath, let me come to you. So Mr. Sunil Jain has mentioned that attracting investment should be one of the priority for India, considering the benefits that other countries are offering now. Now, along with this huge investment that is required for hydrogen, it's also a technology intensive process. There are multiple aspects of hydrogen, from production, utilization, storage, transportation. So on a technology front, where do you see India with respect to other countries like US, Germany? How well are we placed in this respect?
Many thanks, Dr. Jay, for your question, and also many thanks, Skill Council of Green Jobs, as well as the fellow panelists for contributing to this webinar. So looking at it from a technology lens, right, there are different technologies in play when it comes to the entire hydrogen landscape. I mean, what we conventionally look at is green hydrogen or the electrolysis, but then there is also technology around carbon capture and storage, there's hydrogen transportation technologies, then synthesis of technology. So I'll talk about each of them in a small detail, right? When you talk about hydrogen production technologies, or in general, how the landscape is, over the last few years, Japan has been leading the patent landscape, right? So, and closely followed by China, then followed by, for example, Europe and US. So India doesn't come there much on the map. I mean, either it's unreported or it is just not there. So unfortunately, over the last few years, India has not developed itself technology from a technology perspective. Now, when you look at, however, on the positive side, if you look at, let's say, the green hydrogen production technologies, that is electrolysis technologies, you can split it into different parts, right? Very simply put, there is a power electronics part of it. So there is a rectifier element, then the electrolyzer stack, and there is a balance of plant. Fortunately, balance of plant is something where India has a lot of experience and expertise, at least from a manufacturing and fabrication standpoint. from a front-end design standpoint, India still could do more, but at, I would say, it's 80% or 90% is sorted, right? So that itself is about 40% of your entire system costs. So 40% of your system costs, India is in that perspective. The second element, which is, let's say, the rectifier, right, which I'll cover shortly. So a lot of the rectifier building blocks still comes from China. A lot of electronics building blocks still comes from China or from Taiwan. So there is an over dependency on that. However, with the recent announcements of a few, say, power electronics factories in India, from Reliance, and also from some other companies, from Vedanta, instance, there can be a shift in that as well in the coming decades or coming years and decades. The problematic aspect, however, is the stack. Right? Electrolyte stack technology is, say, hardly exists in India. There is some amount of work which has been done by, for example, DRDO at a large scale or by CSIR for fuel cells. But at a large scale, at a megawatt scale, or even multiple tens or hundreds of kilowatt scale, that is something which does not exist, right? So comparatively, all these countries, let it be Germany, let it be US, let it be China, let it be Japan, I mean, all these countries have private companies, of course, supported by subsidies by the government, who have established stack technologies, not only in, say, stack technologies across board. So electrolyzer, alkaline electrolyzer, PEM electrolyzer, different kind of electrolyzer. Whereas for India, at this point, if any manufacturing needs to happen, we will be dependent on stack technologies from outside countries. Even some of the announcements which have been made in India, for example, the Greenco announcement that is relying on the John Cockerell technology, which is eventually a Chinese Cockerell Jingle technology of stack, right, with some amount of Belgian connection. Then there is another, a HOMI hydrogen comes from either Italy or from Germany. So this is an area which, I mean, is one of the least talked about, right, with respect to the hydrogen economy. So, and I think that needs attention. That needs serious attention right now. I mean, it needed yesterday, but it's right now, not only from say private, but also from IIScs and the DRDOs of the world. And we need to start investing in technology. So stack technology has to become a priority, looking at it. So when we are talking PLI schemes, I hope the government is looking at it at a granular level of details where technology maturation, technology development is also an aspect to it, rather than we just, buy stack from or from other countries, which will not be sustainable in the long run from a cost perspective if you want to have control over the cost, right? So that's one aspect. The other aspect, shortly covering, would be some of the other technologies where we could play, let's say, an important role going forward. I mean, and these are technologies, random mass gasification, already mentioned, synthetic fuel-based technology. A lot of smaller companies are working on it. Carbon capture, CO2, hydrogen will be an important fuel in the future. Say storage technologies around hydrogen storage tanks and say other form of hydrogen carriers. So these are some of the areas where there should be a concerted effort, either from a government perspective, as well as say from a subsidies, as from a private perspective, looking at putting it on the agenda. So this would be my key takeaways on the technology side.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gurunath. Now let me go across Mr. Anurag Jain. So Mr. Anurag, from this discussion, we can see that cost effectiveness is one of the green aspect which will be driving the hydrogen economy, especially the green hydrogen economy. So since we are going to produce this green hydrogen based on renewable energy, the main input cost is the green energy itself that is going to go into this electrolyzer unit. So as an expert from the solar industry, how do you see this demand driving the cost of renewable energy going forward?
Thank you, Mr. Jay. So I would like to keep it very short. So to make hydrogen a green hydrogen, we need a renewable energy. And if we say it's around the 70% of the input cost, out of the $6 if we are speaking about at present, 70% cost is covered by the renewable energy. So it is going to play a very critical role to bring the levelized cost of hydrogen, which we are targeting around $1.50 or $2. So renewable energy will play a very important role, and we need to work over the cost. Solar is already we already have a decade of experience in solar. So the cost will play a very critical role into this, and we need to bring down this cost.
So any projections that have you made how this works?
See, if we see the present scenario, the costs are going in some other direction. The costs are they are increasing because of numbers of reasons. There are supply chain issues there, then BCD issues are there. So if we go by that, the present scenario, it will take little bit, it will take a year or two to come up with the new capacities of the solar panel and our PLI scheme. If it gets successful, then the cost may come down for this for the renewable cost. Then only we can see the real transition into the green hydrogen economy.
Okay. So earlier, Mr. Gurunath mentioned that self or independent technology rather than importing is going to be key for green hydrogen. Solar industry is one industry which is heavily reliant on the import of solar related parts. So how do you see this demand driving maybe self-reliance on this technology or manufacturing going ahead?
See, after government has come up with their PLI scheme, and after that, if we are able to successfully implement the PLI scheme, and then we can have our solar panels cost may go down in Indian market, because after BCD, the Chinese panels are not viable in the Indian industry at present. So more or less, it's come up to the solar panel, and how fast the price can go down into the solar panel industry will determine this part.
So does that mean that going forward, this import dependency will come down?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So let me come back to Mr. Ogra. Sir, Mr. Jain Sunil Jain has mentioned that there are a lot of challenges associated with green hydrogen. Now, in your perspective, he has put that we need to ensure there are enough SOPs for new investment coming up. So what is your thought in this direction?
So before going to that, I think query, let me just reflect back on some of the thoughts that have been shared amongst the fellow panelists. One is by Mr. Sunil, which is on the cost element, which is available outside of India in terms of the SOPs. When you talk about the Inflation Reduction Act, the IRA that has been announced in the US, when you talk about 3 kg, Mr. Sunil did mention that, it's coming into a negative zone already, and the capital traction it is entailing. So I somehow slightly have a difference of opinion there, wherein when I talk about $3 per kg, and I'm familiar with the US market in terms of the solar costs that it entails and the RTC costs it entails. The cost of electricity itself would be approximately for which is a very heavy input cost for the cost of production of hydrogen, would be in the range of around $2.50. Then add to it the electrolysis cost, electrolyzer cost, which is around, if you take the alkaline technology today, around 400,000. So effectively, I would say that we definitely feel that yes, the markets like US, EU, wherein there's a hydrogen bank that's been announced. Germany, as he announced yesterday, there has been an announcement yesterday. There are capital subsidies allowed. There are CFD contracts available. Canada, he mentioned. So all in all, what I say is that I see a silver lining for Indian hydrogen landscape as well, economy as well, given the fact that today, I think, what are the demand creators? I would say, and we did speak about gasification. And when Dr. Anand spoke about gasification, I think we at Jakson also are contemplating 3-4 multiple technologies which would go into waste to hydrogen and waste to energy space by using the biomass. And as I understood from the conversation that Anurag, this Dr. Anand mentioned, that there's approximately a potential of 25 million metric tons of hydrogen that can be produced from the feedstock that is available in India. So given that fact, I think obviously now coming back to your question in terms of, and obviously the technology, and like what was mentioned by the fellow panelists, that the technology that, is a challenge. And yes, obviously we don't want to get into the technology wherein we only do the balance of plant, which is the separators, the purifiers and the dryers of an electrolyzer. We definitely want to get into the stack portion of it also. But I think the fundamental question that needs to be understood and asked from a technology perspective is, let's take PEM, which is being spoken about. Obviously there are 4 technologies that are currently being spoken about. One is the alkaline, which is historically and the legacy technology. Then you have the PEM, the polymer electrolyte membrane. Then you have got the solid oxide electrolytes, and then you got the ion exchange. When you talk about the alkaline, obviously the efficiency, number of hours and stuff like that is not as comparable as PEM. But then when you talk about PEM, you obviously will understand that it needs iridium, right? And iridium is a very, very rare metal, and people say, as per statistics, that maybe 150 gigawatt of PEM would mean that the iridium gets over on the surface of the earth. So obviously all of these put together, I think there are challenges associated with how we really want to create the economies which are viable. Now, when you talk about India per se, in terms of the challenges that makes green hydrogen commercially viable. Now, today, I think it won't be commercially viable as of today. I won't be able to replace the cost of green hydrogen or blue hydrogen with green hydrogen today. Given the fact that obviously you need to have the electricity as an input cost, the cost of electrolyzers and stuff like that. But what I can see as a demand creator is one that you get into the obligation mode. And actually we are participating in multiple opportunities wherein there are demands from refineries, steel plants, chemical plants, and all, wherein they want to switch over a portion of their hydrogen needs into green hydrogen. So when you talk about say suppose a 10% of the overall demand or consumption in India, which is 5 million tons, 500,000 tons of demand gets automatically created. I think the other challenge that we have, and that is still not tackled globally anywhere. I think we are talking about US, we're talking about Middle East, we're talking about Europe, but I think is the merchant nature of this commodity, right? And which necessitates some unique structures which needs to be created for indexation, and which will make the financeability of these projects viable, right? I think today we don't have any offtake contracts as such. I haven't seen one as such in terms of how we will really structure the offtake contracts. Yes, we did mention about, Sunil did mention about, which is very, very true, about the lack of transport infra. We did mention about the storage infra. We have hardly around maybe 5,000 kilometers of transport lines available globally, as against 3 million kilometers of gas infra for natural gas pipelines. So I think at the end of the day, we definitely see a silver lining. I personally see a silver lining for the propagation of this economy, which is the green hydrogen, green ammonia economy in India, provided we definitely, obviously there are PLIs that have been spoken about, there are subsidies that have been spoken about, there are state subsidies that have been spoken about, there are these gasification technologies being spoken about. I think if all of these dots are put correctly in the right place, I clearly see India also being a very, very clear, green hydrogen hub, not only for the captive use, but also for the export needs. That's where my take on this whole subject comes in from.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ogra. Now let me come back to you, Mr. Sunil. So, Mr. Ogra has given a very positive side of hydrogen. So, given that the government do take care of the concerns that you have mentioned, what are the potential field you see immediately which will be driving this demand for this?
Can you come again? What is the potential?
What are the potential demand? Basically, the industry is in the automobile sector. From where do you expect if this demand is going to be driven?
So, this is my view. Obviously, there could be different views with different people. In the automobile sector, that is the fuel cell sector, I'm not seeing much of a demand in India. I don't think so. And in fact, world over, there would be some demand. I'm not saying that. Fuel cells, a lot of work has been done in Japan. US is trying to do that. But personally speaking, I always put that all demand for light commercial vehicles up to, the last mile deliveries, it will be all electrified. You will not need fuel cells. It will be all electrified. That is a far easier way to maintain, far easier way to operate, far easier way to develop. It's much cheaper. You could look at fuel cells in the large commercial vehicles. That's an area which could have a look at it, because then you can have hydrogen tanks with the trucks. But that would be very limited in India. At least I don't see that coming into India in next 10 years. 10 years down the line, I don't know how technology shapes up, because technology is really a disruptor and it can change things very dramatically. We have seen that in solar, from a 18 rupees per unit to a 2 rupees per unit. So that is the kind of cost reductions that happened. So definitely those cost reductions will happen, but not in the immediate future. Somebody talked about that hydrogen, the biggest drawback in hydrogen versus renewable, even if the cost reduction happens, is the nature of the product. It is a commodity. It is a product. It is not an electricity where you have a 25-year PPA. So what happens if I start producing hydrogen, say by 2026, my cost is fixed. Nothing can change. But my selling price is not fixed beyond 4 or 5 years. Now, that is one big challenge which we as an industry, everybody has to address. Definitely extensions of green hydrogen are many, it will happen in steel, it will happen in chemical industry, it will happen in fertilizer, it will happen in refineries. The demand is not the issue at all. I'm again repeating, there is ample of demand world over. You will not be able to produce. Your problem will be the manufacturing, the supply chain. Next 10 years, I see supply chain as a huge constraint. And when I mentioned about US being a $3 subsidy, my actual target was that the supply chain will everything will move to US. Where do you get the products? And if you don't have enough metal in the supply chain, your prices go up. It's a demand and supply, simple demand and supply. But demand is not a question. Only problem in India, which I personally feel, is green ammonia. If I have to look for a market for green ammonia in India, fertilizer is the major industry, besides some chemical industry. Now, fertilizer, as it is a subsidized industry in India. Any increase in cost on account of green ammonia will have to be paid by the government. Is the government willing to pay that subsidy? 5%, up to 5%, fair enough. But beyond that, what? Similarly, steel industry, which is a highly competitive industry, can they afford hydrogen as of today? These are the questions which we have to look at. But by 2030-35, no disputes. Green hydrogen and green ammonia will be the market leader. Bunkering, it will be one of the biggest bunkering fuel by 2035, because we see a lot of ships getting modified. But next 5 to 7 years, until unless you have some captive requirement. So if you see a lot of people, they're coming in with their captive requirement.
Okay, so this captive require that will reduce the load on the difficulties of transportation of hydrogen.
Yes.
Okay.
But the transportation of the renewable energy will not go away. That is another challenge which we must address. That is another elephant in the room, because the variability of renewables in the Indian cycle. We all talked about the solar cost. We haven't spoken about the wind cost, which are going through the roof. So you need a combination of solar and wind for a green hydrogen project to succeed.
You're right. Okay, thank you. Let me come back to you, Dr. Anand. I'm seeing a lot of questions even from the audience. This electrolyzer technology. There has been a lot of technology, PEM, anion exchange membrane based. So what do you think will be driving the green production in India, which will be more commercially viable and efficiency wise also better for India? Do you have any take on that on technology front?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Mr. Jay, for this question. The answer for this question definitely is not very straightforward. As Mr. Ogra also put it across, and then he gave quite a bit of insight into some of these technologies. The way I perceive this problem is basically as an operations research problem. See, for example, when we look at proton exchange membrane based systems, they are definitely more efficient. And if you look at, say, the solid oxide fuel cells, maybe they are more rugged. But then each one of them comes with its own strength and limitations. If you look at alkaline, it's a very archival technology. It has, we have experience on that front, but then it has got its own major limitations per se. So the way I perceive the emergence of a technology is to frame this as an operations research problem and then try to see which one is going to give us the best best performance or best output in the given scenario. And also, of course, here we need to account for the fact that some of these exotic metals that go into manufacturing some of these electrolyzers, and also the fact that none of these electrolyzers today find significant footprint in terms of manufacturing within the country, also puts a challenge in terms of the costing available. So considering all these things, I think we will have to look at what kind of utility each one has. So, for example, the alkaline systems may have their drawbacks, but then if we in India can exercise better control over their availability and their operation, then I think that is something that we need to seriously look forward to. So this is my broad take on this. And slightly digressing on the electrolyzer aspect, I think we also need to emphasize substantially on where exactly are we going to make available the solar panels themselves. So that is something which I find very interesting, because for every kilowatt of electrolyzer capacity, if you look at PEM as a technology, then you need 50 times more capacity on the solar front. And this is something wherein India has missed its bus in the initial stages of solar evolution. Today, solar is a significantly mature technology, and I think there must be a serious relook at that aspect too, wherein we can become, maybe we can also supplement with what China is producing, and with the evolving geopolitical scenarios, we may have certain advantages in terms of catering to the solar manufacturing too. So this is my take on this particular question, please. Over to you, Mr. Jain.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gurunath, so we spoke about captive plants. Also, hydrogen has its own challenges, storage, transportation. So how do you see that India has a diverse geography? So we have a demand for precious metal for production, in which we lack. Also, these are all going to be intensive on water requirement, land, and there are requirements like it should be closer to the ports. So how do you see all these playing out?
Yeah, so thanks, Dr. Jay. And again, thanks a lot, a couple of other panelists for bringing in top points. So one of the things which I'll address before addressing a question would be around that merchant nature. I totally agree, that this is a commercial product which has never been traded on the global scene before, right? And whatever indexation mechanism which we come up with, I mean, there's no one global body addressing it. So there is a lot of talk about being indexed to some extent against natural gas, and a certain or say being a derivative from the energy content of natural gas, and then announcing say SP commodity insights, hydrogen pricing. These kind of initial discussions are being taken place now. But one of the challenges which I see across board is how exactly is the carbon intensity of hydrogen which is being defined. That is going to be very different depending upon, let's say, the definition of so-called banking across the different geographies. For example, the temporal relation and the geographic correlation, which is being defined as additionalities in Europe, such a thing does not exist as of now in India. India is far more liberal when it comes to its banking policy. So when we are going to set our, say, export green hydrogen or green ammonia, how are they going to be rated in these temporal and geographic terms, which are being defined in a far more stricter way in Europe or potentially in US as well. So, but this is a conundrum which is not easy to solve, right? Because it's not a let's say because there are so many other factors associated with, and then also let's say expecting to have green hydrogen built in India, for example, for one megawatt of electrolyzer, installing 4 megawatts of renewables on site, have captive use with battery storage to make it really off grid. Such a thing is, untalked about or unrealistic to some extent, right? So, so this carbon intensity will be a big problem when it comes to the indexation, and so create a challenge also from an exportability or sustainability in exports from an Indian economy, Indian-based export hydrogen production to there, right? To the other challenges and other topics which you also talked about, Dr. Chair and Dr. Sunil. We believe very strongly in a semi-centralized hydrogen production scenario. So a complete decentralized doesn't make sense because it's very small and it becomes, unless it's a refinery, of course, that's fine. But then a semi-centralized where there is some amount of sector coupling and perhaps a localized, let's say, pipeline network or a localized supply chain network, which can take place very well in certain parts of Gujarat and parts of Orissa, for instance, where there is a supply sector coupling taking place. So, and this is something which is also talked about or being done in Europe, for instance, where they are retrofitting their existing natural gas pipeline to cater to hydrogens and creating like a hydrogen backbone in certain parts of Europe, right? So, whereas, transporting hydrogen as a commodity itself in its gaseous form or liquid form, unless it's for research applications, a very small application, doesn't make a lot of sense. It's just not economical. Long distance is something where ammonia plays a role, right? Continental or liquid organic hydrogen carriers plays a role. The two main, or methanol could also play a role in these aspects. But as such, for short distance, a sector coupling has to be the key. Lastly, when it comes to, let's say, port availability, port availability is an essential aspect when you're talking about ports, whereas when you're talking about captive needs or, let's say, solving India's demand for green hydrogen or supply demand perspectives, and port is not a very necessary aspect unless, of course, unless for construction purpose in the beginning purposes, right? So that would be a few comments on those topics, Dr. J.
Okay, thank you. Now, keeping in mind the time, let me come back to you, Mr. Ogra. So one key aspect we would like to discuss is the potential of employment this technology is going to bring to India. So what are we views? Initially, our chief guest mentioned that around 32,000 job is what is it's set to create the plan which is going to be set up in Rajasthan by Jakson Group. So how do we see this potential scaling up?
No, so I think before that, I think it's important to understand whether we are ready to embrace the economy, the hydrogen ammonia economy. And when I talk about embracing the economy, I mean to understand whether we are skilled enough to embrace, assuming that whatever we are targeting, say 5 million tons or 7.5 million tons of green hydrogen ammonia by 2030, whether we are skilled enough to embrace the economy. So as per the estimates, I think around 35 to 40 million worth of green jobs are going to get added into the economy in the next 20 years, as per various outlooks and estimates that have been given, and which includes obviously 30% would be in the direct hydrogen space, and the rest would be focused around creating infrastructure, for the green power, and which will enable the hydrogen. So as the green hydrogen industry develops, there will be significant employment opportunities which will arise, obviously, on the construction, on the skilled technical roles that are, once the hydrogen facilities are built, they will require operation and maintenance of technologies, the electrolyzer manufacturing, fuel cell manufacturing, combustion system, ingestion system, dispensation system. All of this is definitely something which we are not totally, fully versed with. There needs to be a massive amount of, reskilling, cross-skilling, upskilling of, the existing workforce, and then, the new workforce, which will definitely be needed to really come up to the speed to really, realize the 5 million or whatever million tons per annum of capacity that we are talking about. I think one good thing that we at Jakson Green have done in some respects on this front is that we have invested in a skilling startup, which deals with the online skilling, advanced next generation skills, which are required, which deals with that skilling needs of the workforce, which obviously does the cross up and reskilling of all of these resources. And we are invested in that startup, and that startup, definitely would, to an extent, and we would definitely want a lot of people to have a focus towards that element as well. Now, obviously, we know that, it's very inflammable, hydrogen per se, toxic, ammonia per se, there needs to be various skills needed that are, implemented in the system that will help us to deliver it safely. Sorry. So I think what is needed, for creating the skill needs, and I know it's something which has happened in the countries outside. Like there are these national occupational standards that are being created for hydrogen production, storage, transportation. Countries like UK, EU, they're seriously targeting these hydrogen leadership. So these will set out standards for performance individuals must achieve, with the knowledge and skills required to work safely and effectively in the hydrogen production and storage and transportation industry. So for me, NOSs, which is the National Occupational Standards, would be an important part of the skill landscape recognized by employers, regulators, and the awarding bodies that can directly transfer it into the qualification or training programs. And this is something which is definitely lacking as of this moment. And I think a lot of work needs to be done around these skilling factors, which will help us, leapfrog and fast track the whole and accelerate the whole, thought process around what we've been talking about in terms of the green hydrogen, landscape. That's my view on the skilling side, Dr. J.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sunil Jain, I have one question, interesting question from the viewers. You mentioned that Government of India should be coming up with certain packages or SOPs which should be there to attract the investment. So still, what do you think, like to the extent which government can commit in this front and addressing the supply chain constraints?
As my fellow panelists have been talking about the manufacturing in India, especially for the electrolyzer and balance of plant. As I know today, the biggest challenge industry is facing is converting green hydrogen to ammonia. The supply chain is committing 2 to 2.5 years for delivering ammonia plants. And so the problem is that looking at those items which we have, like compressors and all, we have to start building up now. If you're talking of a scale of 8 to 10 million tons of green hydrogen. As I say, ammonia is going to be the key factor in transportation and logistics. So it is important to build that. Secondly, if you see, there have been people, Ohmium is one of them, but otherwise, if you see, people have announced manufacturing plans, L&T has done, Greenco has done, and there are many others who are trying to tie up and do it. But by the time the PLI is announced and it becomes effective and tenders are out, you would have lost a couple of years. Now, that is what my challenge is. You would have lost that precious time to be one up in the supply chain. what happens is, even if you look at solar panels, we came out 10 years down the line. This was one opportunity we could have started already. And we would have had a great opportunity both in Europe, US, and everywhere. Because the electrolyzers are not available anywhere in the world today. Whether it is US, Europe, anywhere. The quantum is small. So we could have been a front runner. So my suggestion is, whatever the PLI scheme is, it should be enough. Whatever it is, at least people have a clarity whether that manufacturing base will come up or not come. Similarly, for hydrogen production, the new projects which will come up in next 4 years, they would need a certain amount of capital support because the cost of hydrogen will keep going down over the years. So your product will become uncompetitive by 2035 or 2032 because the new projects which come up will be at lower cost. So your projects will become uncompetitive. It is not like solar that you have a 25-year PPA, so you are agnostic to whatever pricing happens tomorrow. That will not happen in hydrogen and ammonia. So you have to be wary of that. So it is very important that Government of India comes out with the subsidy schemes, capital incentives, PLI, whatever you want to name it, or contract for different schemes, but it should be announced ASAP. That is what this thing is.
Yes. So timing is basically important, and the early players should be supported in a big way. Now,
Jay, 1 second, keeping time into consideration.
yes.
I was thinking if we can have some reaction from Chairman Mr. Samir Gupta on the entire discussion. And typically, when he is aiming towards such a elaborate program, I would also like a few minutes by the panelists to spend on how do they see skilling to be done in India, as Mr. Ogra was mentioning, and is this having a potential to train international level people, and maybe this becomes another commodity to export for the international market. I would request Chairman's quick comments on what panelists have said. And then if somebody would like to enlighten us, because we are an organization associated with skilling and developing various qualifications. So we would like to get enlightened by the panelists on that as well.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Saxena. I think it was a wonderful discussion we had over last 1.5 hours. How time has gone and flown. We have not even realized, and had we had more time available to us, I think we could have discussed this topic for another 1 hour. It was so many questions I can see on the screen, and so many thoughts are coming to mind. So I think it was a wonderful discussion, and the insights which have come from all the panelists, not only pertaining to present but to future, as to what could probably happen over next 15 to 30 years, has been very insightful. I have found this event, the entire webinar, to be very, very interesting. And of course, we will listen to the views of the panelists on the skilling side. I think Bikesh had a very insightful thought to share on the skilling side. And I would tend to agree, unless and until skills are there, that's what I even mentioned in my opening comment as well. Skilling and talent is something which is missing in this area, and that's one of the biggest problems, challenges of the entire world, not only this country, very, very clearly. We don't have, everyone has become a guru on hydrogen, and nobody knows hydrogen as a subject. We are all learning, as a matter of fact. We on this screen are all learning. I can take this liberty of saying, perhaps on everyone's behalf, that we are all learning. We have made announcement, nothing has come physically, nothing has come practically so far anywhere in the world. So I think this is going to be evolving over next 3 to 5 years. As some pilot projects come in, there is going to be a lot of learning. And unless and until skilling is kind of, the backbone, the foundation, unless and until we make that foundation strong, the fast tracking or the adoption of hydrogen, the way we are envisaging, the way announcements have been made in this country, what Sunil ji said, the announcement made so far can cover what is forecasted right up till 2045 or 2050. If we don't have the foundation right, it's only going to be a dream. So my view, Dr. Saxena, is that we should, at Skill Council of Green Job or even otherwise, Bikesh and me have been talking of a couple of startups in this area. We should focus on hydrogen, not only for India, but for global markets as well. That's my view, and happy to, of course, hear views of other panelists. Any view from, Sunil ji or Bikesh or Santosh or anyone else?
No, I think Samir, what you correctly encapsulated that today I think the need to walk the talk is through skilling. Yes, we will see electrolyzers, we will see technologies evolve, we will see plants happening, we will see contracts getting fructified. But at the end of the day, and I've seen this bringing in my experience of solar, and working in all of these countries, I think there is a gap deficiency. There's a skill deficiency, which is definitely there, and a massive skill deficiency available on this front. Yes, you rightly said, we all are talking hydrogen, we all are talking green hydrogen, green ammonia, but what it entails to actually construct, produce that green hydrogen, green ammonia, do we have those skill sets available? Globally, not only India, I think India can act as a hub. I clearly am very, very personally convinced, I have the conviction that India can act as a skilling hub for the global needs, across to cater to the needs, the skilling needs for really propagating this economy across the globe. That's my firm conviction.
Thank you so much. Any other panelists would like to say? In fact, we would probably gather together, sir. Maybe one more specifically talking about what kind of a jobs, what kind of a potential, what kind of a qualifications and what kind of a skills we are looking at from industry, so that a specific program can be, or a set of qualification packs could be developed and trainings could start. I would also like to take this opportunity to request the industry to suggest on what kind of a qualifications, and maybe sir, at Jakson, maybe this can be a lead point for you have been talking about skilling and some training centers. Maybe one can think of having a dedicated training center for making manpower ready for the hydrogen industry. You have been guiding us all through, and maybe this would be another point on which we would seek your guidance. Any other panelists would like to say specific things? Lot of questions on chat box. Probably time is not allowing. In fact,
maybe one thing skilling I could share. So having spent a lot of time in Europe as my professional career, I mean, one of the top 3 or top 4 things what this risk towards energy transition is the lack of talent. It's not only lack of talent across, right from the front end all the way to the execution side. There's a huge lack of talent. Kind of say that's, I mean, in India we generally don't see that from a, let's say, execution perspective at least. But say if solar plants are being built or hydrogen plants are being built in Europe or at least Northwest Europe, then the most of the delay happens because not able to get manpower, right? So, and that the costs are also driving up quite a bit. I think that's like one aspect. When it comes to India, I think one place where I think we need to spend traditionally in this industry, let it be ammonia, let it be hydrogen industry, most of the front end, right, or the initial design and engineering work has been done abroad, right? Has been done in US, Europe, Japan, whereas India focuses, the Indian engineers have been focusing more on the detailed engineering aspect of it. So that needs to shift as well. So we need to get more front end expertise and skill sets so that we are able to lead projects from scratch rather than just, getting the basis from outside and then detailing it out. That's what we can do very well. But the front end skill sets needs to be developed, and that too very in the short term, right? Because all these projects be conceptualized in the next 1, 2, 3, 4 years, and then unless we have those people around, then we are again, seeing what NEOM is doing or seeing what the Holland Hydrogen 1 project in the Netherlands is doing and just copy paste, which is not going to be sustainable.
Admin, I think Mr. Vineet Prasad wants to say something. he has written in chat also, and his hand is up. Can you please allow him to speak? Unmute.
Sure, sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I'm Dr. Vanita Prasad, and we are working on to the biological hydrogen production route. That is where we will be converting the biomass as it is going for the methane, the same anaerobic digester process, we can produce hydrogen, wherein we will be reducing all our dependency on the electrolyzers. We don't need any energy. So that is what we are trying to do, both with dark and photo. In case of photo fermentation, we need a high-tech reactor, but that too gives a very good hydrogen yield. But we don't have any opportunity to pilot it still. We have done a lot of lab scale trials, and we are getting funding from UK, but not from India. So that is one of the opportunity we should also, I think, explore. That is my request, and most of the green hydrogen panels, I'm not finding any mention of biological hydrogen production route. So that's why I wanted to make this point over here. And this route can be just a modification of a biogas plant. We already have entering into that market. So dark fermentation is the same route. So any of the panelists can comment on that. I will be really happy to hear.
So Ms. Vanita, what I would suggest is you can just drop your coordinates with maybe Dr. Saxena or someone. I think we will get in touch with you. We definitely are looking at the biogas route for the hydrogen.
Okay. Okay.
And definitely we would like to understand this technology as well in terms of how exactly you want to pilot it, what is the technology available, and we would definitely like to understand, and maybe if required, if we find it viable, we would definitely like to partner and maybe invest in it also.
Yeah, sir has my coordinates. They will pass it on to you.
We will pass it on. Definitely, we'll pass it on. Yeah. And in fact, one of the very good thing of this panel discussion is that if industry can talk to R&D institutions,
yeah,
probably this would be a dream come true, frankly speaking. Dr. Anand, you want to say something? Typically on this, on the biological route?
Absolutely. Yeah, Dr. Nita, it's nice to know that some dark fermentation route is being considered. If you can throw some light on the scale and then the net energy ratio aspect related to this, I think it would be more useful for the industry also to perceive it in a more practical sense. Currently, I believe that is one of the major challenges as far as the biochemical route is concerned.
Yeah. So what we could able to do is on the 10-liter reactors, we could able to store the hydrogen. So we are working with the Napier grass at this point of time, and I'm right now presenting it in UK. I am in UK at this point of time, and I'm just about to present my work here. So we are doing 10-liter, and we are looking forward to scale it up to 20 tons with the help of UK funding.
Okay.
So that is the scale where we are looking onto the dark fermentation. But there is a lot of things which needs to be explored onto maintaining these plants. As we know, there are a lot of challenges even for the biogas plants. So doing this as a bioethane, I can say I had a confidence of around TRL6. But when it comes to photohydrogen with dark fermentation, then I am at TRL3.
Okay.
So that is the level where we are working.
If there is a very specific interest on that, we will definitely be very happy to set up another webinar or panel discussion on typically on biological route for
yes, sir.
As of now, I think we are almost at the end of our panel discussion. Dr. Jay, you may like to say a concluding few lines before we thank our panelists.
Yes, so we have a very interesting discussion, varying viewpoints, technology as well as commercial aspects of green hydrogen production. So basically what I feel summing up is timing of all this policy announcement is going to be crucial, and the early beginners in the government should support in ways. So there is no doubt that the whole panelists were very clear that green hydrogen is going to come up in big way going forward. So there are some technology and commercial issues which need to be addressed. So going forward, I believe such discussion will open up more insights and industry to academia interactions will improve, and self-reliant technology will be able to develop. Thank you for all your varying views and points.
So first of all, thank you very much, Dr. Jay, for coordinating the whole thing. In fact, the maximum work done by him in conceiving the questions and steering the panel. Sir, I would like to formally thank you for being present throughout the panel discussion, Mr. Sameer Gupta ji, who has been a guiding force for us in the Skill Council for Green Jobs, not only from skilling point of view, from an industry point of view also. My special thanks to all my panelists, Mr. Bikesh, Mr. Sunil Jain, Mr. Anand, Dr. Anand, Mr. Santosh, Anurag, Jain. Thank you so much for being us on such a short time and on such a hot topic. I'm sure the 50 webinars organized by the Skill Council for Green Jobs were very, very useful. We will continue our effort in this direction, complete 75 webinars on different topics. I would be more than happy if any one of you would like to give a dedicated webinar on what you people are doing for a larger audience, typically in hydrogen. I would fail in my duty if I do not thank my team at Skill Council for Green Jobs, putting all these things together. Specifically, I would like to mention the name of Mr. P.B. Singh, who has been the main coordinator for 50 webinars. He has been doing tireless job every week, every Friday, 12 o'clock, we see a webinar happening. So thank you very much, Mr. P.V. Singh. Also, the entire team, Mr. Arpit Sharma, CEO, who is always behind developing such things. Sangeeta, Deepak, thank you so much. Dr. Dhamija has been one of the force for doing all these efforts. Thank you very much. So with this word, I thank my audience also that they were there. In this webinar or in this panel discussion, I could see the maximum number has crossed 100, which is really, really extremely encouraging for us. And I assure that we would continue to do some similar efforts. Once again, thank you very much to all the panelists, and thank you very much to all the audience.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you to all.